Hello everybody, my name's Stasch, and we are here for a great episode of Uptown Villa Park at the Village Hall in Villa Park, Illinois. And my guest here today is Vince LoCascio, busy guy. Vince, great to have you on the show.
It's truly an honor, and
My
well
pleasure.
overdue.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Some of you are well aware of Vince and what he does on Comcast in the public access sector. He has a program called Busy Guy, and are you really that busy?
It's all facades. It's all smoke and mirrors.
All smoke and mirrors.
Smoke and mirrors.
Doesn't really happen that way. Okay. Tell me, you've been doing this show how long? The Busy Guy.
About 8 years now.
8 years. Okay. How'd you get started, and where does Busy Guy come from?
Well, I got started. I finally had a little opportunity to research it and find out about Comcast. Having public access.
Okay.
The training that went into it, and what a great program. It's a great group of people that they're all volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
They provide, meaning Comcast provides you training on lighting, camera, directing, getting it all together.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody helps each other on each other's shows. So when I finally found out about that, and then, volunteered on a few shows, got somewhat a little bit of a network of people going, and I can't thank them enough, you being one of them,
Mm-hmm.
for helping me do the show.
Right.
The whole busy guy thing kind of, just comes back from, raising a family, having a job, doing this, having many different interests in people and learning their stories and being busy, just being busy. I think the word productive really makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, oh, I'm busy. You're not that busy. What are you getting done is a different story.
Sure.
So,
Sure. Spinning your wheels versus busy.
exactly. And
Yeah.
people like using that term, I'm busy. So
Yeah.
threw it
Yeah.
out there, people like it and they use it.
Well, tell people who haven't watched your show about the format of your show. What do you do in your show?
Well, the format is, I like to think, because of my background, being everything from a garbage man to a maitre d' in the restaurant business, that I feel comfortable talking to anybody in any walk of life.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to compare myself to Charlie Rose till I found out now I'm Charlie Rose with pants on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah. But I like to think of that format one-on-one. And, back to the format, they allow me to pick the guests. There's nobody else that has a hand in, unless it's by suggestion from, friends or family or whatever, of who they have as guests. But I have, whatever I have an interest in, I get to do a show on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge Beatle fan, so I've had American English on. I like to make wine. I had a guy that makes wine. I like politics. I was honored to have Secretary of State Jesse White on.
Right.
And so on, So I get to create and do a one-on-one thing. I really would, as time goes on, I would like to, do the audience thing and all that kind of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I really feel the one-on-one gives people watching a chance to meet and learn about the person I'm interviewing.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that I'm always impressed with is the types of guests that you have. There's a wide range of people. They're in entertainment business. You talk about government, different entrepreneurs that you brought out, including how to get your ideas out there. You had a show about that one time.
Inventions, yeah.
Inventions. How do you find your guests? Where do you get them?
A lot of it, a lot of the people I know personally, I had my brother on, not because he was my brother, it was a nice fact,
Yeah.
but he helped write the textbook for Bassett training and for alcohol, awareness and certification. So he had a lot to offer about that.
Yeah.
A lot of people you find online, I haven't accomplished it yet, but the harp is a beautiful instrument, okay?
Uh-huh.
So I researched and, online you find out who plays, who does parties and talents like that. So I've been researching that and trying to find out, it's a big thing to move that harp to the studio.
It's a huge instrument, right?
Yeah, so that's something, a lot of it you find online. Introductions through the Casa Italia, I was able to meet quite a few people through that organization and contact them to be on the show.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because quite a few of your shows, a good variety of shows, are from the Italian-American community, right?
Yes.
And you've had national leaders in Italian organizations, entrepreneurs in the Italian neighborhoods. And that's a big part of your show, right? Is that your heritage too?
It truly is. I
Yes.
mean, I feel honored. I was fortunate to go to Italy and kind of see where, both my sets of grandparents grew up
Mhm.
and where, what they accomplished by getting here, providing for families and raising kids and all. And then to think they did it without even speaking the language,
Yeah.
and then the opportunity that we have over here. So, I cherish those values. And I cherish it also, as far as the entertainment part of it. I talk about the movie The Godfather a lot, about how, if you take the violence out and the killing and all that, the part that's left that everybody grabs onto is the family. It's a
Mhm.
father taking care of his sons, the weddings, the way they eat and all. So, I truly am very proud of, enjoy, my Italian heritage.
Well, I think you're doing a good job, in my opinion, and maybe you can tell me if this is what your really intentions are, to get rid of that stigma about Italian-American families being associated with the Godfather world.
Exactly. I mean, there are organizations out there, anti-defamation for the Italians, because it's, I've said it many times on my show, it's like open season only on the Italians. Even when they're talking about a guy in the playing field or whatever,
Yeah.
they'll make jokes and this and that, and everybody gets away with it.
Yeah.
But, you're Italian, oh, you must be connected to this, that, and the other thing. You get a little laugh out of it. After a while, it gets tiring. But these organizations promote how we've got people in opera and law and government, in music. It just goes on and on. So it's kind of interesting that it makes you have that effort to put it out there
Yeah.
about the Italian pride,
Yeah. Yeah.
which there is a lot of.
Yeah, and I saw that in a couple of the shows. You're right, I did participate as a crew for many of the shows, but I watch them too on YouTube, those that I was not able to be a part of your crew. And they bring out certain characteristics about their guests' family that they're very, very proud of. For example, Mr. Ferrara
What
from
an honor
Ferrara
that was,
Candy.
yeah.
Tell us about that show.
Well, that was a case of someone introducing, me to him and getting him to be on the show. And part of it, the reason why it came up that I wanted him to be on the show, because Casa Italia, who I've mentioned, is an organization in Stone Park that brings all these different Italian organizations under one roof for one family.
Okay.
And somebody introduced me to him, and I was truly honored to have him on because he had been chosen Man of the Year by Casa Italia that year, and they set it up so I was able to interview him. But what an honor! What a part of Italian pride about the company he started, in the Chicagoland area,
Right.
about his family, and what a great story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately he's passed, but I was truly honored to have him on my show.
I was camera on that show, and I truly enjoyed listening to it. I was listening to my instructions that I was getting from the director, but watching the show intently because Mr. Ferrara, I don't remember his first name, Nello Ferrara, the maker of Ferrara candies, which the name brands were Red Hot
Heads
and Red Hots.
Red Hots,
Yeah, yeah,
Boston baked beans. There's quite a few more.
yeah.
But those, that's what comes to mind. Yeah.
Well, Mr. Ferrara was very, very proud of his parents, who came over through Ellis Island, as he described it on the show, and how they educated themselves through good schools. Mr. Ferrara went through, I think, Loyola and DePaul is what he mentioned. And he talked about his father learning the language.
Right.
And the fact that he thought his father had the best vocabulary of anybody he knew coming over, not speaking a word of English to begin with. Right?
Best handle, yeah, I believe he phrased the best handle of the English language.
Yes, yes, yes. And he talked a lot about the business and the family business that he had built with 3 different families. I remember he mentioned the families several times. He kicked them off as to their names. But he ended the show, and this I heard because I was on the set, but he ended the show singing.
Yeah, he was doing a little something at the end.
He just wanted to sing at the end. And unfortunately, the credits and the music overlap on top of that. But I thought it was a really touching moment for have a guy like that up in his years, proud to sing out like he did. And it was really, really a great show.
I forgot what he said, but I didn't catch it until later. I certainly didn't catch it during the interview, but if you watch the interview, I believe he said, it's great to have me here, or thanks for being here. And it was my show. It was
Oh, yes.
a funny little
He did
quip.
say that. I remember that.
Funny little quip that he made.
Right at the beginning, he said, when you shook
Sharp as
hands,
a
thanks
tack.
for being
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Sharp as a tack.
Yeah, great guy. And you know, that type of guest, the businessman, the entrepreneur, really, you really focused on in several other shows. People who get involved in not only things that they created on their own, but the actual creation of a really successful business.
Yes.
You've had a lot of guests like that.
I was very proud to have Nick Nicholas, who I worked for many years for his restaurant, Nick's Fish Mart, as a guest, because he's got he's got so much to offer about the industry and you know, passion for it. And, that was a great guest too.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Well, another aspect that has a thread throughout your shows, including you yourself, are performers.
Love
Music.
Love
Yeah.
music. As you asked about who I get to choose to have on. I'm a huge Beatle fan.
Yes.
No secret. I love it.
Yeah.
Anyways, so the band American English, who nails them to the note, were very gracious to be on my show.
And they've been on twice.
A couple times.
Right.
And in costume, in character.
Yeah.
How fun was that? You know, and as far as YouTube, those have like I think the most hits that I have.
Yeah.
Besides the Shrimp Stingrays, this is another great show.
The bicycles,
Yes.
right. The two shows that you did with the American English, one where was an interview, and then the second was performance.
Right.
Most of the show, that has more than 15,000 views on your site, and the most viewed of all of the shows that you've had so far. Are you going to have them back again?
I would anytime, yeah.
Yeah.
They're busy guys.
Great act. I'm sure. I see them at every festival almost in Lombard and elsewhere
That's
throughout
where
the summer.
I found them. I found them at the Bensenville
Car
Music
show?
Fest.
Yeah.
Yes. And just, they could be more gracious.
Yeah.
I give them a car. I got this TV show. If you would like to be on, I'd be honored to have you. They called me, I called them back, and the rest is history.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Well, we're turning the tables right now by me interviewing you.
Yes,
but
you are.
on one show, you also interviewed many members of the crew, including myself. But you opened that show with a guitar,
Yes.
singing a Beatles song. Where did you get your music background?
I don't be redundant, but it kind of goes back to them because at the age of growing up when they came
Them, the
out,
Beatles.
The Beatles.
Yes.
Everybody wanted to play. I grew up in. We had three. There was three two flats together of all cousins.
Okay.
Everybody very close in age. Everybody played. I was the youngest, and kind of just picked it up from all of them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
kind of fell into that, and still play to this day.
Yeah.
Do I play professionally? No. But I play. I love doing it at parties, families, things, or just entertain myself.
I think you should do a half-hour show of you performing.
I think so too.
All Beatles, though, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a few
I'll throw
others.
some Rolling Stones in there.
There you go. Some Rolling Stones. Who is the one guest that is on your bucket list? The one guest that you would really love to have on the show, and may still, but have not yet. Who's that prize, that golden nugget?
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. You're pulling my
I'd
leg.
fire him right now. I will never talk politics.
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't say one particular person, but I would like to have like a great Italian-American actor on. Joe Mantegna, Danny Aiello. That genre of guy would be nice to have on.
Yeah. Well, you interviewed on a remote site the friend of Joe Mantegna.
Frank Sinatra, yeah.
Yes.
Tom Dreesen.
Tom
What
Dreesen.
an honor that was. Talk
Yeah.
about a gracious guy. Just through the website, I called, left a message on his office. The same thing, I've got this little public access TV show. Would you be on? He answered the phone. He
Wow.
was like, I would love to, kid.
Yeah.
Doesn't know me from Adam. And then says, by the way, would you mind if you interviewed me at the Pump Room Booth 1? Are you kidding me? He
Yeah.
says, it was great. And I don't
Booth
know-
1. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. I was not on the crew, but I watched the show.
Okay, he set that up. I brought a crew. I mean, talk about an honor. And then the stories, because he is a Chicago guy.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, he had stories to tell because he even toured a show telling about his anecdotes and stories about Frank Sinatra. And shared those all, with on my show. But I was just, first off, honored.
Yeah.
Thrilled to have him on, it was one of the first remote shows that we did.
Yeah, yeah.
So what a nice guy, a gentleman,
Yeah.
true gentleman.
Yeah. Well, you had a great interview with him, and it was fun to hear some of the things that were related to Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack crew that he kind of hung around with a little bit. And he in his own right, Mr. Dreesen's a great performer as well. So that was a coup. But I think you'll have others in the future like that. I'm thinking maybe Paul McCartney one day.
I'm surprised I didn't say that.
Yeah, yeah.
I had to throw Trump in there as a joke.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I would love it. That'd be great.
Yeah, that would
And
be
I'll be honest with you, I think when I first started doing this, because everybody's got email and contacts, I send out invites to all kinds of people.
Mhm.
I invited Oprah, I invited many actors and guests, or
Sure.
musical talents like that. You got nothing to lose. One responds, who knows?
Yeah, yeah.
That's all it takes.
Well, you also have gotten involved with some politicians, although you don't talk politics. You had the first ward alderman from the city of Chicago on, or second ward alderman,
Bob Fioretti.
Bob Fioretti.
Yeah, and that was tied into, it was tied in the Italian-American thing, because he was first Italian-American, I believe, running for mayor.
That he was just about to run for mayor,
Yes.
right?
And it was also tied into politics, too, which I have a huge, I like it. I like watching, especially Chicago politics. Back in the day when I mentioned I was garbage man, I was during the, I was patrons worker, so part of that army and part of all that. So that fascinates me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The whole inner workings of a city government in this metropolis. There's a lot going on.
And
there.
especially the way it used to work.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
very interesting.
yeah. With the daily formats that went on for years. You also had the Secretary of State. You mentioned him once.
Jesse White.
Jesse White. That's
Another
a great
class act.
guest. Yes.
And what an informative show that was, because I don't know how many people know, but I don't know if it was the Chicago Farm team, but he played for the Chicago Cubs.
Right. Right.
And but his character, and what a colorful guy. He speaks better not that I speak Italian, but he speaks good Italian.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
he
Okay.
grew up with a lot of Italian. So funny guy. He has, he's got the Jesse White tumblers and all. Runs a great organization, great government agency. Nice as could be, and gracious. I mean, they don't know this. They could be on the Tonight Show if they want, but they're on this, on my little public access show.
But there was a great message built into that show, and that was the organ donor program that you ran PSAs, public service announcements for, which is through the Secretary of State, and he's a great proponent of that. In fact, told an anecdote about a tumbler who was deceased, and how that person's organs helped save the lives or continue the lives of 6 other people.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that you do, is you put PSAs into your show as well, right?
I tried to.
Italian American PSAs, that one about
Or for the donors. And
Yeah.
speaking of donors, one of the guests, and who I knew from high school, his name was Tom O'Clair. I had him and the doctor that performed the transplant. Well, what Tom did, and he's got a great sense of humor, but he'll kill me for bringing it up. But he donated a kidney. What's the word? Altruistically. In other words, meaning he didn't know who was going to get it.
Just
He
gave it
just
out
wanted
there,
to do
put it
it.
out
This
there.
was his bucket list. Some guys want to get a car, this, that, and the other. He wanted to help somebody. He ended up finding out who the receiver was. But,
Yeah,
if one little show, one thing on my show helped somebody, great.
Yeah.
He was part of that. As like you mentioned, Jesse with the organ
yeah.
program.
I loved being a part of that crew too, because one of the things that we told Jesse White off of camera was to be careful about the cabling that was on the floor, because it's concrete floor in the studio, and that if you step on it, you'd slip. And he right off the bat says, "I'm a tumbler, not a stumbler."
Did he say it?
And I said, "Okay, you're way ahead of me, so we're good. We're good. We didn't have to worry about him." Another aspect of your guest is sports. You have had
I had King
hockey.
Kong, Jerry Korab on.
Jerry King Kong Korab. I love that show. Tell us about that show.
I know him through a family member,
Okay.
and he,
Former Chicago Blackhawk and Buffalo Sabre.
yes,
Okay.
and LA Kings also.
Okay.
I think. And he loves to talk. Some people on my show, they say, "Oh, I'm sorry I talk so much." Well, it's a talk show, you're supposed to. But he's got a million stories to tell,
Yeah.
and colorful and fun. And I think the biggest thrill I got out of it, how excited the crew was to meet him.
Oh yeah. Big time. Big
You know,
time.
he loves that stuff. He's not, he loves the people. He loves, you know, when they want to, you know,
Mhm.
meet them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
And great stories to tell. I hope to have him on again.
Yeah, I know he's, from what I remember, he has a business in Elmhurst nearby, an oil production business, I thought it was.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
got going.
good for him, good for him. And I know he left Chicago for a while and came back. His wife wanted him to come back to
Yeah,
his family.
he keeps homes in different places. But he's a
Yeah,
great guy.
great guest. And also, you did a remote not too long ago for a little local hockey group
Right.
out in Bensonville.
I had John Canetta, and then who was a good contact. He's got his own show. I should give him a shout out.
Yeah.
Domenican Seminary with Pat Capriati.
Yeah,
Well, I had John was a former hockey coach for DePaul.
yes,
His son is following his footsteps a bit. He's got a career in something else, but he is the coach at St. Viator's.
hmm
And you and the crew that helped set that up at the Bensonville Edge, which was very gracious, allowing us to have the show there.
yeah,
You know, we talked about being a hockey coach, what it's
Yeah.
like,
yeah,
you know, what it entails, the way things are changing now with concussion policies and,
yeah,
you know, things. Pretty much every guest that I've had on, I try to hit on the chord where how things have changed.
okay.
90% of it is because of technology, you know.
Mhm.
And a lot of it is for safety issues, you know, things like that with the hockey concussions and stuff like that,
Mhm.
or medical changes. But there's, I like to point that out on my show, you know, about change,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's everywhere.
But also, you have had a couple of shows. You mentioned the Stingray bicycle program.
Huge thing.
That's the
about it.
throwback programs.
Yes.
And talks about some real value that those Stingray bikes have today, right?
Yeah. Value is a great thing for them, because
Yeah.
it truly is. You know, I think they would cost $50 back then.
hmm
The ones in really mint condition get, you know, 15, I don't want to quote, but a lot of money for them.
Yeah, thousands.
But for me, I own two.
hmm
You know,
With the banana seats?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Not so much the value of them.
hmm
If they went up to $1 million, great. But the memory or the feeling you have when, you know, guys our age see those bikes,
Yeah.
that's the beauty of it for
yeah,
me.
yeah. Big smile, right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and these guys from Blue Moon Bikes out of Sycamore, I'm gonna give them a shout out too. They have what's the equivalent of a museum,
Mhm.
but they're all for sale. So they've got all kinds of, you know, every Stingray, every year, every color that you could think of.
Right.
But, you know, I think maybe now that we're talking about it, it's pulling out of me a little bit, but I like to have people watch the show and say, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Or that makes me happy.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they'll go buy a Stingray and have it and look at it, you know, and have
Yeah.
fun with it. So.
Or ride it if they still can.
Yeah. A little stiff on the joints, but that's okay.
Right, right. I remember putting baseball cards in the spokes on my
Oh,
Stingray bike.
They talk about it all the time.
Make
You know,
that
I just
flipping
found out.
sound.
I mean, I thought you would put the worst card in.
Yeah.
I don't know if people said they put their favorite card. Why would you ruin your card?
Yeah, it was Mickey Mantles in those
Yeah.
spokes. Yeah, that'd be well worth
Or Mick.
saving today, or anyone. Where is the show going to go from where it is right now? You're going to continue? You're going to?
Oh, I'm definitely going to continue.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it the way, speaking of changes, the trend is towards now is radio shows are becoming TV shows because they're live streaming.
Yeah,
So somebody that does a radio show, you know, with the big mics in front and all that, they're broadcasting over the radio, also live streams. So I'd like to think, you know, maybe down the road, you know, do that kind of thing.
yeah,
Change
yeah,
the technology. Just the fact that you're helping me out today, you know, doing an interview here is huge.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I appreciate it, and I'll say thanks a million times.
You're welcome anytime. I love being a part of your show, and having you here as a guest is a double scoop of ice cream for me. The crew that you have, you mentioned them a couple times, and me excluded, you have some pretty dedicated people that come out and join you
True.
in this experience of the Busy Guy Show. Talk to me about those folks.
Okay, it's
Not me, the others.
well. I'll say thank you to you a million
And you're done,
times,
okay.
as I said. However, and I don't want to leave anybody out because over the years there's some that I you know started
Yeah.
on the beginning. Anyways, these people take time out of their lives and from their families and their schedules to come and help on this show
For nothing.
for volunteer.
Right, right.
You know, I'll say as many names as I can. There's Mark Radabaugh. There's Steve Knapp.
Dr. Steve Knapp.
Dr. Steve Knapp,
Yeah.
Jay from Crestline, Ed Mueller,
Mm-hmm.
There used to be a guy, Tony O, that helped out.
I remember you interviewed him on that show, Tony O.
Yeah. God,
The guy from the Railroad Museum. We'll think of him in a second.
Ray Pisick.
Ray Pisick.
And then to Lee, and who runs, the public access program at Comcast, and Jeremy, helps put the tapes out there. And shame on me if I'm forgetting anybody, because over the years there's been a lot of people.
Right, right.
And I overthink all that, but not that I'm accepting an Academy Award, but I want to just be correct and saying things to everybody.
Yeah. The format that you have, it's a studio format and it's a sit-down interview, but you also have brought in performers.
Yes.
Some Vegas-style performers have been on the show that basically you lost control of. They just went and did their thing.
Well, Vito's Zotto was fun. Tony Ocean, the Phil Barilli trio. I will one day have the harpist on.
Okay, that'd be great.
That's in the works. But I love music. Ronnie Rice.
Yes, yes.
I could have him on 100 shows. I mean, he could talk, and he's got a lot of stories to tell.
And I think that's the second most views on all of the.
Is it?
Yeah, Ronnie Rice.
He's a lot of fun.
Is he still performing?
Oh yeah, he does private parties, and
okay.
I don't know if he does.
And the band he was in the '60s.
New Colony 6.
New Colony 6, right, right.
Yeah.
60s, 61 was
in
prime time.
Classic Chicago style band.
Still has the voice too. I've heard him sing recently. That's good.
Very talented.
And guitar. Yeah. The process of getting a show on Comcast. You find that pretty easy, pretty difficult?
No,
physically getting it out.
I would feel free to say anybody that wants to contact Comcast and look online, see what their program is about training and all. And you want to get the word out. 30 years ago, if I told you I have a TV show, you'd say, wow. Kids have a TV show from their phone now. However, TV, I think, and sitting in a studio is still a good way to do it.
Yeah, you've got mics like we've got, you've got the lighting, you've got, and special lighting in the Comcast studio in Elmhurst. And it gets out to a wide range of people. I think from Elmhurst, it's like 61, 62 communities.
Right, well, there's zones.
Several million people.
I'm on 3 different zones.
Oh, that's right. And you go to CAN TV, Chicago Access Network,
I'm allowed
right?
to broadcast that on there.
Great.
And then there's YouTube too.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
If you want to get the word out, it's easy to do. You just, it takes effort. And if you're a busy guy, it's hard to.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard.
Your schedule.
I know that a little bit. Anybody with a family and trying to do things, you have the day job and I've got all the volunteer work. It gets to the point where you go, when I worked full time somewhere, in my case, I'm retired, worked full time.
Busier now.
I'm busier now than.
Speaking of that, I got to leave.
What do you got to leave?
I got to go. I can't sit here all day.
What's this?
These are cannoli. That's part of my.
These are
tradition
cannolis?
to give, yeah.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, leave the gun, take the cannolis. Right? There I go back to the Godfather.
Well, if you got to leave, I'm
I apologize.
so appreciative.
I am very honored that you had me on.
Yeah.
I wish you the best. What's the end? Do you know? What is this called?
UpTown Villa Park.
UpTown. Not downtown, UpTown Villa Park.
That's right.
All right, I apologize for leaving.
Well,
Thanks for
okay.
having me on the show.
We still have time, but
Yeah, sorry, Al. I'm a busy guy.
okay.
See ya.
See you. Take care.
Thanks.
Nice. Thanks for the cannolis. I'm going to open them. It's a thing that he does. If you watch the show, there's cannolis and he's busy. He's got to go. He's got to go. Oh my God, these look great. If I open those, you'll want them, so I'm not going to open them all the way.